Okay, I have a question from Bakhtavar Nazir. How can we handle failed test cases that fail due to timeout issues, even though there are dynamic waits as well for scripts? Okay, I can answer this one, Bakhtavar. Very good question. Thank you for asking. Bakhtavar, you may join us on Zoom as well. Just give me a second. Bakhtavar, I will answer your question that how we can handle transient errors. Transient errors. These things are called transient errors. So let me share on my screen with you one of my previous posts in which I discussed transient errors, or I can also share my IntelliJ to show you one way to handle transient errors or errors which are caused by timeouts and other such petty things. If you can see my screen, please let me know that you can see my screen. So the errors which Bakhtavar mentioned, let me repeat her question for sake of everybody else who is joining now. So Bakhtavar asked that how can we handle failed test cases that fail due to timeout issues, even though there are dynamic waits as well for from the scripts. Excuse me. All right. And she also asked, what framework would you recommend to automate the scripts using Selenium WebDriver? These are two separate questions. So I'm going to start with the first one. So first of all, there is this thing called there is this package called Retry Template, Spring Retry Template. All right. Here I am sharing my screen with you. So first of all, you will need the Spring Framework.retry. So this is one of the packages which can be used to handle such errors which are caused by timeouts, etc. Timeouts are essentially known as transient errors. These are errors which might go away if you retry your the operation which is failing in your test. So in case of transient errors, you can use the Spring Framework.retry. And how this framework works is basically I have created a test over here. So it is called Let Me Try. And I haven't done anything over here. But if we go in here, there is this method, is this thing true, for example. And I've written this method in such a way that it is going to fail, definitely fail. Okay. So for example, uh, like one second, if I provide an input here, int param, like if I provide an something over here, and if I just do simply system.out.print line over here, and what I do is I just divide 10 by param. Okay, so Bakhtavar, this is for you. So this is one way to handle transient errors. So now I have actually made sure that I will make sure that this script is going to fail. And I'm going to supply a parameter from here, which is going to cause this script to fail. Like for example, if I provide 5 over here, okay, and I go here, I say calculation result percentage S and dot format. If I call this method and I provided the result of this calculation, what is going to happen is that as long as I'm going to provide it a number which is not 0, this is going to fly fine. But as soon as I will provide a number which is not which will, for example, if I provide 0 over here, then this test is going to fail. Let me run the test so that you can see. So this is one way to provide retries. The Spring Retry framework makes retrying possible if there is an exception. If your test is logic is throwing an exception, then the retry framework is going to automatically retry 3 times. You can configure it to retry more times, but 3 times is what it is going to do automatically. You see, it has displayed calculation result is 2. Now pay attention. If I supply parameter 0 over here, then what is going to happen is that there will be an exception, and our framework is going to our method is going. This method is going to retry this calculation 3 times automatically. Okay, with small breaks. Now I have this retry template here. You, if you want, you can take a screenshot. You can definitely take a screenshot. I shared this on my LinkedIn timeline recently. So now I will go here and I am going to supply 0. I am assuming that this is just an example. In case of practical web applications, for example, if you retry once and a button was not loaded on your application under test, and your application tries again, then maybe if the button is loaded, then it will be clicked. Or if you want to read a text and it was not available earlier, but later on it became available, like after a few retries, then this problem will be solved. Over here I am using the number 0 as an example, just to show you that there will be 3 retries. Oh my god. Oh god. Well, I was afraid that this is going to happen, and it has happened, and I don't know what to do. But any case, never mind. Um, so now let me run the test once again. I'm supplying 0. There will be a divided by 0 exception, but this thing true. The logic in this method is going to be retried 3 times. Okay. And by the way, this is my website, testautomationtv.com. I am teaching a course about test automation with Appium and WinAppDriver. It is available on Udemy. Please visit this website, testautomationtv.com, and check out my course. Okay, now let me run the logic. I am going to run it. Okay, so here you can see that it retried multiple times. I think I should add a little more over here. Let me add something else over here. Handling transient. Delete all of this, and now I'm going to run this test one more time, and it is going to print, and it is going to print the handling transient errors multiple times, 3 times actually. What is wrong here? And guys, I am also planning to create a course about test automation with Selenium, and it is going to take me maybe 2 or 3 months because it is a slow process. And once I do it, please do join in. Okay, do visit testautomationtv.com, and I'm going to post a link over there, and please do join it. Okay, let's go back and now run this test once more. I'm going to run the test, and here is the console. Let us see what it says. Okay, so what happened here now? It says let's do with retry handling transient errors. Okay, and it has done it multiple times, but okay, it was print line. I need to do print line. Now let me run it once more so that you can see it more clearly that we had retries. Okay. Okay, here you can see it is doing it with retries. It did it multiple times, and then the test failed. Before the test failed, there were multiple retries because that's how I have configured it. You see, handling transient errors, it has been done multiple times. Let's do with retry handling transient errors. And there is one more thing which we can do. We can put that the counter over here as well. Like for example, if I make it string dot format, guys, trust me, when I'm going to release my course about test automation in Selenium, it is going to contain real world and top class content like this. Okay, so do join my course when I release it. It is going to take me a few months, but I plan to create a course about test automation, and it will be out in a couple of months. All right, so here what we can do is, you can see that we have this parameter retry context. We can copy it. It provides us a lot of information about the retries. So there is this thing get retry count. Okay, I will double click it, and now we are going to get a counter over here too. Now I've saved it, and I'm going to run it again. Bakhtawa, did I answer your question? So here you can see your operation is being retried multiple times, because as soon as it is going to throw an exception, we are going to retry it and then it is going to time out. So this is how we handle this is how we handle transient errors. I provided the parameters max attempts 1000 over here. If I make it 5, then the simple retry policy is going to enforce retrying 5 times. And there is a backup policy as well. I encourage you to go and study the Spring retry template in Spring. So here you can see that we have count for 5 times. So like 0 1 2 3 4 5 0 1 2 3 4. So 5 times this count was performed. And yep. So this is how it is. So this is one way, this is one technique to handle transient errors. Like for example, instead of this operation, maybe you could have performed some button dot click over here. Okay, somehow like some button dot click could have been performed here. You could have done like some text box dot get text over here. All right, or you could have done some text box dot send keys over here. So all of this is possible. So this is for Java. This library is available in Java. Let me write it down here. uh, Spring Retry library is available for Java. Okay, in C sharp you can use Poly library. So Poly is a library which you can use in C sharp. It provides you almost similar operations where you can supply a lambda, and that lambda would be executed again and again if there is an exception. And since we are talking about this library right now, the Spring Retry library, I would like to mention one more thing. Please don't be misguided by this return value. If you return false here, but there is no exception inside the body, then there won't be a retry. A retry will be performed only if there is an exception inside this method. Doesn't matter what you return. All right. So anybody, any questions? You guys can join me through Zoom as well. And if anybody has got any other questions, please feel free to ask. I would love to answer. So in today's session, until so far, I have answered 2 questions. One about the architecture of various test automation tools. I told you about the W3C WebDriver standard and how automation is implemented using it, and what is the role of driver, and what is the role of your application code, your test code, and what is how the driver interacts with the target platform. Okay, and then I showed you how you can use the Spring Retry framework for implementing a retry strategy, which can help to safeguard you against transient errors, which are often caused by things like slow loading websites or slow network or temporary issues. Such problems are called transient errors. Transient errors can be easily handled using the Spring Retry library if you are using Java for test automation. And I have already shown you an example about it, an example implementation. You can find it on the website as well. For example, here you can see I have a test over here. And inside this test, if I perform this operation, is this thing true? And supply it a zero parameter, and this is basically, in this method, is simply dividing the number 10 by the parameter which is supplied by the user. Okay, so instead of doing this simple division operation, what you can do is you can perform a click over here, get text, or you can do send keys or anything else over here. And you can do all of these things, and if any of those fail, the Spring Retry framework is going to make sure that your operation is performed after a short delay, and it will keep retrying if there is an exception. So this can be a very viable strategy for handling various transient errors which can go away with retries. Okay, and here is the website of the Spring Retry framework. You can read more about it over here. And Umar Farooq Khan, we have Umar Farooq, Bakhtavar. All right. And the other question was, what framework would you recommend to automate the scripts using Selenium WebDriver? Well, page object model is typically used. Page object model is the design pattern of choice which is typically used for automation, for basically streamlining your automation effort. It also depends on the size of your automation effort. If you are automating a small application, maybe you don't need a very like heavy duty framework, a data driven framework, or a keyword driven framework, or anything else. But some parameterization is needed in case of every automation job, because you see, almost always there are more than one environments in which your automation scripts have to run. For example, if you develop an automation script in the QA environment, maybe tomorrow you will have to run it on the pre-prod environment, and maybe someday you will have to execute some subset of your test automation scripts on the production environment as well. That is also possible. So in such cases you will need to parameterize your scripts, and there are different strategies for parameterization. You can specify parameters through JSON files. You can also specify parameters through Excel files, and you can also do it through a database, or where you can basically specify which environment, for which environment your automation is supposed to run, and then supply parameters through a certain data store which can be handled by your test automation scripts. So all of these things depend on the needs. What are your goals? What are you trying to do with your test automation, with the specific test automation job? So I hope that I answered your question. And if you have anybody else has got any other question, please feel free to ask. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to know. Thank you for your feedback, Bakhtavar. And this recording will be available afterwards, and you will be able to watch it as many times as you want. You can also take the screenshot of the Spring Retry code snippet if you like it. So this is my website right now. It is going to take you to my course about test automation using test automation. Oh, I just forgot it. So this is my course about test automation using WinAppDriver. If anybody is performing WinAppDriver test automation, please feel free to join this course. And it contains several hours of training, and I will be there to answer your questions. Just recently, I answered a question of a student on a live Zoom call, and I'm sure they must be very happy. And I love to answer your questions related to this course. Or I also have a course related to execution of Azure DevOps build pipelines, how to use them for running your test automation scripts, which will be created with WinAppDriver. So I also have a course about this as well. WinAppDriver, Azure DevOps build pipelines, run Windows UI automation and CI. So you can use watch this course as well. So these are two courses which I'm teaching on Udemy. If you have any question, please ask it in the comments section. I am here to answer your comments or your questions. Please give me some ideas about who should I talk to next. I can also interview this people on this format, because whatever I do, I am paying for the subscriptions of the streaming service. I'm also paying for the subscription of the Zoom call. So I would love to make the most out of it. So let me know if you have someone in your mind who can be or who should be interviewed, who should be, who can be or should be interviewed. So I would love to interview people over here on this podcast and bring them on in live Zoom sessions as well. Feel free to suggest people. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for staying with me, and thank you very much for your questions. See you later. Hopefully, in a week or maybe in 2 weeks, I will see if I can find someone to interview next Sunday. I am going to definitely interview someone next Sunday. Otherwise, we will meet on the Sunday afterwards. Have a good day. God bless you. Thank you very much for tuning in. Bye.